Jeffrey Rath is a Calgary area lawyer with a long career in constitutional and Indigenous rights law. In recent years, he's become one of the most prominent figures in the Western Separatist movement in Alberta.
Mark Carney wants a 600% increase on the carbon tax in Alberta to decarbonize Alberta oil. We're done. We can't handle this level of stupidity anymore.
Gang, what's up? Aaron here, Canadian Looney. Smash the like, hit subscribe, get your Canadian federal politics right here. We're going to get our fill of Alberta separatism and Jeff Rath, who seems to be the leader of the organization that is officially working with Americans to become the 51st state. Something is up. I lived in Alberta, can't blame an Albertan for questioning why you'd want to remain a part of Canada. Is going to the States the best option? I don't know. Let's find out more about Jeffrey Rath.
Talk to me about this movement. You need 178,000 signatures on this petition so it can reach the legislature and then potentially spur a referendum. Have I got that right?
Yeah, and we're crushing those targets. I mean, we need 12 to make the 178,000. We need approximately 12,000 signatures a week. I mean, everybody's seen the lineups going out into the dark Alberta January nights everywhere we go. I mean, we're well ahead of that curve. Our actual goal is in excess of 1 million signatures so that we can demonstrate to the province of Alberta that that a majority of Albertans will in fact vote for independence on a going forward basis. So, that's what we're working forward on. Hey, while I've got you though, I want to send a shout out to Mark Carney. I want to thank him for all of his great work as the leading proponent of Alberta independence. Because without him opening his mouth on a daily basis and saying the silly things that he says, like trying to declare war on the United States under Article 5 and him going to Davos and insulting the United States the way that he did, and all of the asinine things that he does, like declaring the New World Order, etc. Every time he opens his mouth, another 100,000 Albertans come to our banner, including people from the Pacific Rim who do not want to be governed by people that are affiliated with Communist China. So I want to thank him very much for making Alberta independence possible. We're very grateful.
Can we go back to the numbers for a second, Jeffrey? You want to reach 1 million. You need 178,000 to get this into the ledge. 1 million is a lot. There's 5 million people in Alberta. You think you're going to reach that?
It's 62,500 signatures a week, and we think that we can get on track. We're kind of a little bit behind the curve on that right now, just a little bit, because we're having trouble getting getting canvassing badges out. And I'm not allowed to say who's at fault for that, but that's fine. But we're getting there. I mean, we're now probably close to 5,000 canvassers. We have a 50,000 canvasser goal. We want to, we're getting our permanent locations for signing set up across the province. And then once we get that done and have achieved that objective with volunteers manning every permanent station, then we want to have a 87 constituency door-to-door, door-knocking signature campaign across every constituency in the province. We want to hit every door in the province. We think we can do it. We just need enough canvassing badges. So we're working on it. But the other day, I mean, we had 2,400 people show up at West Edmonton Mall for canvassing training sessions. We had to run 8 sessions of 300 people each because we only had a room that would hold 300 people. People are excited. I mean, if you saw the footage from the event last night in Calgary, we had over 4,000 people there. They were excited. They were energized. We had probably close to 10,000 people go through the Big Four yesterday to sign the petition and go home. We're thrilled with how it's going. I mean, the support from our fellow Albertans is overwhelming, and we're very, 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 very energized by what's happening.
How many signatures do you have so far?
We're not going to say exactly. I'm going to tell you we're well ahead of the curve to make the 178, but
how come?
We're behind the curve to get to the million, and we're going to keep working pedal to the metal until we get there. And then we're going to have 2 huge events to celebrate the conclusion of this campaign. One at Rogers Place in Edmonton in early May, and one at the Saddle Dome in Calgary. And we're confident we'll be able to fill both arenas by the end of this campaign with energetic, excited Albertans that are looking forward to a free and independent Alberta.
What does Alberta separation actually look like?
Which way are you going? Alberta separatism, keep Canada united? I don't know. Under this federal government, it's very questionable. Smash the like, hit subscribe. Let's get back to the video.
Well, it looks like we're going to have no more income tax, no more GST, no more carbon tax. We're going to get rid of all federal regulations of the oil and gas industry. We don't have to worry about the tanker ban because of free and independent Alberta. We've already been promised by Scott Bessent publicly that they would welcome a pipeline through the United States to the Pacific Northwest so we can service Korea, Japan, and the Pacific Rim market with Alberta oil and gas. It's going to be the wealthiest, least taxed, and least regulated jurisdiction in North America. So we're going to have a booming economy. We'll have the highest GDP per capita of any country in the world. Our children will have a future again. Kids will be able to afford rent. They'll be able to buy their own home before they turn 25. It's going to be back to the way it should be. And we're looking forward to it. We're all very, very excited about no longer having to spend $15 billion a year to Quebec, another, $10 billion a year to the Maritimes. God, even $500 million last year to Ontario, that big have-not province that Doug Ford supposedly is running so well that he needs to take money from Alberta taxpayers to subsidize what he's doing because they cheat their books by keeping Hydro One revenue off of their books, right? So we're looking forward to getting out from underneath all of that and being treated like a resource colony by the rest of Canada. So again, Mark Carney, keep up the great work. We're very grateful to you for driving Albertans to leave Canada, and we're looking forward to a very shiny and prosperous future.
How does Alberta actually undo a tanker ban in BC?
Well, we don't need to undo a tanker ban in BC because Scott Bessent has opened the way to the Pacific Northwest in the United States. So the Canadian tanker ban becomes irrelevant. We don't care anymore at that point, right? And, and everybody, and Doug Ford, pay attention, because if we build a pipeline south through the United States, we're going to be using American steel. We won't be using Ontario steel. So, all of this, Mark Carney is literally cutting off his nose to spite his face by the way that he's treated Alberta. He hasn't repealed the tanker ban. He hasn't repealed the emissions cap, hasn't repealed the production cap, hasn't stopped talking about the planned, $540 a metric ton tax on carbon in Alberta. Keep in mind the carbon tax and industrial carbon tax in Quebec is $30 a ton, but Mark Carney wants a 600% increase on the carbon tax in Alberta to decarbonize Alberta oil. We're done. We can't handle this level of stupidity anymore. If Mark Carney were to impose the 6-fold increase on carbon tax that he's bragging about, it would destroy the Alberta oil and gas industry worse than the National Energy Program did.
Jeffrey Rath is a Calgary area lawyer with a long career in constitutional and Indigenous rights law. In recent years, he's become one of the most prominent figures in the Western Separatist movement in Alberta, specifically through his leadership role in the Alberta Prosperity Project, APP, a group pushing Alberta's separation from Canada.
Hello, my name is Jeffrey Rath. I'm from Foothill. My question for the room is, how many of all of us favor a free and independent Alberta? Raise your hand, stand up. Free and independent Alberta. Stand up for a free and independent Alberta.
Most of the Expo Centre arena stood up in cheers and support. This caused the Premier to address the hot crowd with a different response from party members.
Well, I support an independent Alberta within a united Canada. That is my position.
Talking to City News after, Jeffrey Rath of the Alberta Prosperity Project is taking issue with the MOU Smith signed with the Prime Minister on Thursday. Rath says his time at the mic was not to ask a question to Cabinet, but to gauge independence support at the AGM.
Their party is an independence party. Their party wants a free and independent Alberta, and they'd better start leading like we're going to become a free and independent country, because that's what their members demand.
I'd just ask everybody to be mindful that this party is a merger of two parties with different cultural traditions, and sometimes the way we solve disputes is by solving them through referenda.
Rath is leading a court effort to allow a separation referendum, despite another petition affirming Alberta stay in Canada going through the verification process with Elections Alberta. He says final arguments for his court challenge are set for December 5th.
He has said repeatedly that officials in the U.S., including under Donald Trump's government, are very enthusiastic about Alberta becoming an independent country. Rath has claimed he's been offered huge sums of money by Trump officials to persuade Albertans to separate, but there's no official confirmation of any of this.
Now, when we look at that, though, we did see Prime Minister Carney came out and had some pretty scathing words for President Trump. He also talked about the old order has been destroyed. We're not going back to the old order. We now have this new situation. How do you take his remarks?
Well, I think Prime Minister Carney tried to put on a mask for a bit, and he's really a globalist. He was governor of the Bank of Canada, then governor of the Bank of England, then he was the UN climate czar. And he tried to disappear that credential, seemed like he was more reasonable. And when he said he wants to make Canada an energy powerhouse, Canada has great natural resources, but I don't think he wants to bring them out. Well, look, Alberta is a wealth of natural resources, but they won't let him build a pipeline to the Pacific. I think we should let them come down into the U.S., and Alberta is a natural partner for the U.S. They have great resources. The Albertans are very independent people. Rumored that they may have a referendum on whether they want to stay in Canada or not.
Sounds like you may know something up there.
Look, people are saying, people
are talking.
People are talking. People want sovereignty. They want what the U.S. has got.
Well, it goes on further than that. He says, won't build a pipeline to the Pacific. We think they should just come down here. And what he's talking about, and that comes directly out of the meetings we've been holding in Washington, D.C., is that we've raised the issue with them, and the Americans are very open to having a pipeline come down from Washington through Montana, Idaho, and either Washington or Oregon to the West Coast to service Korea, Japan, and our partners in the Trans-Pacific Partnership that are part of the American alliance to contain China. That very alliance that Carney completely ignored when he skipped over all of them and went directly to communist China to declare, Canada's alliance and allegiance to communist China and announce the advent of the new world order, right? So this is the issue, right? It's a real issue, and the Americans, of course, would like to see Alberta oil going to Japan and going to Korea and cementing, the relationship between the Pacific Rim and North America, like the free countries of the Pacific Rim, cemented to North America with a stable supply of energy. I mean, do you remember when the Prime Minister of Japan came to Canada and wanted to talk to Trudeau about an LNG, a liquid natural gas project, bringing Alberta gas to Japan so that they would have a stable supply of Alberta LNG? And what was Trudeau's response? Oh, there's no business case for that. What Trudeau meant was his masters in communist China didn't want to see that happen, because right now we have massive Chinese oil and gas projects underway in northern Alberta and northeastern BC that are being built by Chinese companies. And I suspect we won't get a pipeline until those Chinese companies have enough oil and gas reserves to fill a pipeline going from northeastern Alberta or northern Alberta and northeastern British Columbia directly to China, and not making any of that oil and gas available to Korea, Japan, or otherwise in the world market. That's really what's going on. And this nonsense about Carney meeting with these so-called coastal First Nations and promising them a veto over pipeline construction, those so-called coastal First Nations are actually a front organization funded by the Suzuki Foundation, which is funded by the Tides Foundation, which is funded by George Soros in China, right? So effectively, they want to lock in Alberta oil and gas until such time as China's ready to take it all. And then at that point, I'm sure whatever concerns the First Nations have will just be completely rolled over by Ottawa
without any reference to a veto, because of course we know how much China gave a crap about First Nations rights and interests anywhere else in the world where they were extracting resources, including Venezuela.
We'll wrap it up right there, gang. Aaron, Kennedy, and Looney, thank you very much for watching. Do you know more about Jeff Rath here now after watching this video? We'll see. Who knows what's coming? It's hard to tell. It's a very funny political climate, indeed. It's ridiculous. Aaron, Kennedy, and Looney, thank you for watching this video. We'll catch you in the next one. If you've enjoyed this video, that's a reason to subscribe. That's it. Aaron, catch you next time. Kennedy and Looney, get your federal politics right here.